In this bookkeeping video, I'm going to make an invoice. Again, for people starting a new business, learning bookkeeping, one way to charge a customer or to increase your income is to create an invoice. In our previous video, I showed how to edit shortcuts. Well, anyhow, I have right here, invoice, in my shortcuts. You can also go to the customer drop-down and create invoice. Or you can hit Control-I. Control-I. So I'll do that. Now what popped up here is this box. This is an invoice. So I'm just going to make this bigger. And I'm going to close this right here. Now this probably is a whole other video, but this is just the basics on an invoice. We're going to leave it as a product. No, I'm actually making a service invoice. You can manage these templates and make whatever you want. Experience with creating invoices and what your product or service is will determine how you may want this to show. Now, the first thing you do in creating an invoice is choose a customer. You can also start typing and it will appear. As you can see, I only have one. So I chose my customer. I'm going to leave this as print later, and I'll show later how you print that. The date of the invoice could be the day you're making the invoice, which usually is the case. But that's something you can manipulate if the circumstances are right. Automatically, the bill to will show up. Again, these boxes are things you can edit. If I choose another invoice, like professional, it changes it a little. Product. I'm going to use product. You can put any items in here you want. The reason I'm doing that is it shows the bill to and the ship to. Sometimes you use it, sometimes you don't. Depends what the customer wants. But so it will automatically put the invoice number chronologically, adding one number every time you do an invoice unless you change it. All these things are changeable. This is in my customer setup video. You can change these, but this is the default. Default address, name, default address. And again, you can default the ship to. It will default to net 30 because that's what I put, and it's pretty common. Again, that depends on the needs of your business. What I'm really trying to get to is how the invoice actually works. An invoice just carries the information, this template, this invoice template, carries the information of the customer name, the date, the invoice number for the customer and you to reference, and for you to find this. You can also find it by the date, a lot of different ways. I'm going to do this kind of generically. One, and I do have an item. I'll use a part. And again, there's a video on items. So I'm going to make this a part versus a service. But the point is, whatever it is, these items are attached to income accounts. You can see that in my items video. So that being said, you'll choose your item, which happens to be a part versus a service. You can do either or, and your default number will come up. I set this one at $10. You can change the default description and the default price while you're doing the invoice. Again, that's what it starts as. Now, when you do an invoice, and as you can see, you can do multiple things. I can do a part, I can do 4 of the service, and the price each will show up here. It will multiply it for you, and then put the title down here. So, now, I won't get into sales tax right now. That's something you'll need to look at in your own state and look at the laws, but I will make a video on the basics of how it works functionally. Now this invoice, if you were done with your parts or service and your quantities, that's pretty much it. When you save this invoice, what will happen is this entire dollar amount, the balance due, if you had sales tax, it would be included. This whole balance goes, and it will debit an asset account. I have, of course, a video on credits and debits and understanding QuickBooks. This will go to an asset called accounts receivable. And once you receive the money for this, then that will go down. But as far as this invoice is concerned, this $90 will, again, debit, which means increase an asset called receivables. You now have an asset. This is assuming you're making an invoice and you're set up as accrual. I will make a video on accrual versus cash also. And then, as far as these are go, when you use an item, whatever's here will naturally be credited to the income account it's attached to. So that's why you can show what incomes you have. If you're selling product and they have parts or product numbers, you can see how much you're selling of that. And you can have multiple services and multiple parts or products. And so there will be a line for each one of these. This will credit $10, and this one will credit $80. So again, the credit part of this is it will credit your income going up, and then it will debit your asset of your accounts receivable going upward. That's just the basic of an invoice. You would print this once you save it, or you could actually email it later instead of printing. Or you don't have to do it at all, and you can do it right from here. But what I like to cover in my videos is more so the bookkeeping aspect of it, where the income, of course, it'll be attached to the customer as well. What type of income. So that's just the basics of an invoice. Save and close. So I saved it. Now, you could come over here. I did not leave print later, but if I did, here's that invoice. Invoice 1, that's my first one. Print later. Save and close. I don't want to do another one. You have changed the transaction, yes. Then you can go under File, Print Forms. I'll probably do a whole other video on this, but when you want to print a form, if you have a bunch of invoices, it's sometimes nice just to do all the invoices, then print them all later at once. Print forms, invoices. Sure enough, there's the invoice I just made. So that's just the basics. My later videos will get into more advanced things and how to look at bookkeeping. Thank you.